we are ready for a fireside chat. I'm going to welcome Annette Naif. Annette is the CEO and creative director of Naif Productions, and also Sonia Nagpal is the co-founder and CEO of DissDash. Hi, Sonia. Welcome.
Hi, Karen. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. I am so excited. Oh, look at that hair. Wow. Yeah, I should have curled mine.
I know.
We're all long hair girls. We could be a Brett commercial right now. The blonde, the redhead. Charlie's Angels.
Exactly.
So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Again, this is a very great things to talk about. So I'm just going to hop right in with you, Annette, first. What was the biggest positive and negative for Naif Productions throughout the pandemic?
Well, just like everyone, we had no idea, I live in New York, so everything shut down very quickly, and we really didn't know what was going to happen. But that's a negative, obviously. And, I've been in the event industry for 30 years. I have had my business for 12 years now. So I was just celebrating, everybody else, my event business was going great. And it was pretty much kind of running itself at this point, and everybody was doing what they need to do. And I just, I had to start over, basically. I had to figure out, what do we do? How do we pivot? Which we all hated that word.
I hate it.
I know. I'm in a networking group where every time someone says it, we would have to drink, right? Because it was a fun group. But so that was the scariest part, was figuring out, what do we do? How do we turn things around? The positive is that I have an amazing, I have a lot of resources behind me, which is really great. And I have an amazing AV team. And so we set a meeting. I was like, let's get everybody on the phone. Let's talk this out. Let's figure out what we're going to do. And we kind of discussed it. And I had to figure out, we've done, many, many live events with a live stream aspect to it, but not full on virtual. And so I had to figure out, what, as an event producer, does that mean for me and my team? And so we kind of had to figure it out as we went. My AV team said, okay, these are the things you guys can help us with. And so we just created a new service list, basically, and then started consulting and really educating our current clients, because everybody moved, right? So we took all our events and moved to the next year, which most of them have actually moved to 2022 now. But and so we moved everybody. But then I do a lot of fundraising events, so I was able to get them, educate them, consult with them, and really talk to them about what it looks like to take their fundraiser dinners, which are 4 or 5 hours, to a 1 hour or 1.5 hour program. So we did a lot of that. And after we did the first one, it was kind of like, okay, we got to repeat. Right. And then it was just more about learning about, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about engagement. Jay said a lot of great things about that. But so, it's just really all about engagement. How do you engage virtually for, the time of your event? So I would say those were the positive and negatives.
The negatives, yes, I know. And what's interesting, because it's almost like you're already in the future, because obviously you've done live events, and you're saying the virtual was difficult, but you already were in the phygital world, because you were doing hybrid in essence, because you had a live stream at your event. On one hand, you were already at step 3, but then suddenly step 2 came up, and it's like, oh, do that.
Yeah. It was, we did a few hybrid where we had just the MC or the auctioneer was live, but it was challenging. And also the negative part was figuring out how to price ourselves, because, we thought, oh, okay, well, there's no on-site and it's not as much logistics, and it's different logistics. And it was a lot of hours put into that. So I really feel like we did undercharge, but at the end of it, we kind of just wanted to get the work.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Right. So that was not good. And, I had to, after we've now sort of out of pandemic, because we're kind of getting to that point, we have to, we're going back to our pricing. So this is how it's going.
Beware.
Yeah, beware. You're going to have to pay what we're worth. So, yeah.
Right. It's funny. I'm sorry, and I'll get to you, Sonia, in a moment, but it's funny.
Yes.
I attended this travel event a couple of weeks ago. So I mistakenly said, wow, this is amazing. Like how much cheaper in essence it would be to produce something like this, because you're not, taking over the Japanese dinner, and you're not doing the hotels, you're not doing lunch breaks, you're not doing I'm like, oh my gosh. But someone said to me, oh wait, hang on. Like this was so much work. And so I recognize it is a lot of work.
Right.
So work is really the expense is the hours. Because
the technology, there's a whole lot of more technology that's involved when you're doing virtual, and the team. And so it's bigger. So if I'm doing a live event, I may have 5 on site where I would have 13 doing a virtual event.
Wow.
And if there's different, if there's different tracks, you have some track over here about education and then some over here about finance or whatever that looks like, you got to have all those people running all of that sound and the cameras and the all of that stuff. So it takes a bigger team to run an all virtual event. So people think that it's not going to cost for the food and beverage and the venue and all that. But technology, you have
it's a different set of logistics.
You have to have really good technology to run a virtual event. If that fails, you don't have an event.
Right. It's over.
No, we had to educate people. They thought that they were going to have to, not pay as much, but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Sonia, I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts, speaking of virtual and again, the managing of all this? Do you think that third-party platforms in the event space are helpful or problematic?
So before I start, Annette, I just want to say I love your energy, and yes, your hair looks amazing.
Thank you.
Well, I honestly think that it's a twofold, right? Initially, you think getting a third party, it's going to be less work for you, but in essence, you're really giving away your event real estate, right? You're giving them the data that you could potentially be using for yourself, and now you've given it away,
right?
And now they're using that to gain traction to bring onto their sites, whereas that's something that we should have, as a brand, be doing ourselves. So, it's a twofold. And the other aspect of it is basically, when you put a post, let's just say companies like Eventbrite or C Event, these are the third-party vendors, when they're putting up information about your company on their platform, you're taking away traffic from your own site. So as opposed to people coming to your own website to look at what you're about, they're not going to this third-party vendor. So for me, I personally think that we need to, demarketize and take ownership as the brand and keep our attendees and our data, for ourselves.
So that's the plus side of it. By doing it yourself, again, like Annette was just saying, obviously it would be more logistics or more manpower or more work. Again, it's like hiring a producer versus producing something yourself. So again, you lose ownership, but like you're saying, by having it yourself, then you have the audience coming to you, which is of course what you want. You want the engagement, you want the audience, and that respect.
Yeah, I think for the long term, that's just a better route to go.
So similarly, in terms of audience, I wanted to ask you, Annette, what are your thoughts in terms of engagement? Like, how do you keep the engagement in a virtual event, or what are the tools or modalities or the devices? Like, how do you take that live engagement that is so easy and inherent in a live event and transfer it over to the virtual?
Yeah, that was a huge question among all of us producers. Because that's what it's all about, like I said earlier. So when we first started, so I work with a company that does these gift boxes. So we wanted to start the engagement before anybody came to the event. So we would put together these branded boxes and then put all kinds of fun stuff in there that they could show during the event and, hi and whatever it was and whatever the branded company wanted. So it just depends on, some of them we had boas and just lots of fun.
So they were real. They weren't virtual gift boxes. They were actual.
Well, they were actual gift boxes that we mailed out to everybody. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it could be, if we had a lot of people, it was a lot of work. So that was another thing that we, kind of had to, and, we've done gift boxes live or gift bags live, right? Many, many times, but we mailed them out and the box was actually branded outside. So as soon as they got the box, they didn't open a box to see the box. It was there when they got it at their doorstep. So, and that was that's the engagement prior to even starting the event. And then we did a virtual registration. So instead of like, it's basically a check-in, because if we said registration, they would say, oh, we already registered, we don't have to go. But we wanted, we would do a separate Zoom link, and depending on, even if we use some nice, great platform like this one, we would do a Zoom link and then have them come in and sort of check them in and give them the lay of the land, especially if it was a platform that they weren't familiar with. We would run them through the platform. We would say hello to everyone. And if, 5 or 6 people came on at the same time, we would give them different time frames to check in. So we would have someone sitting there live and come in and say, hi, hi, Sonia, so glad that you're here. We're so excited for you to join the event. And here's some things that you need to know. And we're going to be starting here. And this is how you use the platform. So we would run through. And then we would do a little bit of a networking with them. So if 5 or 6 people came on already, we'd have everybody introduce themselves. So now the networking starting before the event even starts.
And it feels live and intimate and organic.
It feels live, intimate. We've checked them in. We made sure that they know how to log in, where they need to go, what they can expect, whatever else, we need to tell them. So yes, there's manpower behind that, but it was such a great personal experience as opposed to just clicking on the event and there they are, right? So we did that prior to even the event. And then we included lots of things like gamification. We would ask questions like team building things, questions that would get them interacting together. One time we had a sangria event with drag queens, and it was fun.
Perfect for Pride Month.
It's perfect for Pride Month, and it was so much fun. Everybody loved it. These drag queens were amazing and so much fun. And they were like the MC of the event, but we were doing it. Yeah, and it was really fun. I love clients that do stuff like that, but just so many, net breakouts and bonuses for having your camera on. So if they had their camera on, some of them would get, some of them even did cash bonuses. So so many things that we did that were
really people be present. Again, like one of the women was saying yesterday, you run that risk at a virtual event that people might be, the camera's not on, they're looking at their phone, they're walking away, they're feeding the dog, so if you actually are on camera, then you're accountable and therefore engaged.
Exactly. And we made it so that we did things that were rewarded for doing that. And we told them ahead of time, we want you to be on camera. So come camera ready, because a lot of people wouldn't. So it's important that you're there and you're engaging. And so the communication beforehand is always helpful. So
I like that. And, as a journalist, I've covered so many Hollywood suite, the gifting suites, award season, and there's nothing better than a great gift bag. I mean, so
everybody loves it.
That to me made it really like a live in person, or you made it tangible, because I've seen a lot of virtual gift bags or gifting, or it's not the same. You open something, it's a 10% discount or whatever.
I know. I never liked those.
I think we all love free stuff, right?
Everybody does. They don't care. Even if it was like their 20th hand sanitizer, they do not care. Or masks. Masks were obviously during that time.
Everywhere. Really
I think we're all going to do a mask burning party.
There are some cute ones. I don't want to get rid of some of mine.
I know they are cute. I have a whole bag.
Crystals, the whole thing.
But I could do without them.
Sonia, how about you? What was the biggest positive and negative, that could be plural, some of the positives and negatives that DissDash experienced throughout the pandemic? What were like some great things that were unexpected, that were, amazing? Because I always say when something's taken away, you're also given something. So what were the gifts and what were the, the difficulties?
I'll be really honest, for us, because we already are an online platform, this just expanded our audience, right? So we were now doing events that were not just on site. So these were events that were global. I'll give you an example. We partnered up with LinkedIn for their Asian Alliance Month, and I was able to get them artists from Bollywood who were, signing in, singing, doing performances, whereas before it was just an on-site event, and that exposure was limited.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that work out? How did that transpire? Did LinkedIn reach out? I mean, that's amazing to do an event with LinkedIn. I'd imagine just being on that platform alone would be incredible exposure. So again, 2 brands linking up, I would say 2 hands are better than one, joining forces. So they just reached out to you and said, we want to do this?
I have a contact at LinkedIn who hired us before to do an on-site Diwali event. And we just, grew that relationship, and now we are a preferred vendor for them. for any time they want to do any type of events like that. So
That's
Is that on your LinkedIn profile? I'm a preferred vendor.
You know what? I
LinkedIn.
should have that. I don't have that there.
That should be in your bio and your LinkedIn bio. Yes.
Sonia, so I just want to say one thing. Sonia touched on something that was another positive was our events reached way more people. So if they would have had 200, they had 500 or 1,000 people. And I think that a lot of my clients got that bug from it. So a lot of them had said they're going to start doing virtual as well as they're live now. So that's something that's, I think, going to change.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And as far as the negative is concerned, of course, we all miss the human face-to-face, being able to touch someone, talk to someone, that sort of interaction. We got lucky. We had another partnership with another major brand, Toyota, and we had to do an endorsement of their car. And we had to do an endorsement of their car. So, we were able to do like a quick little cute video for them. Whereas if we were able to do on-site events, we could have probably placed the car there, let people see the car, place all the paraphernalia. But, so it worked out. But, I think in the interim for us, the pandemic, knock on wood, didn't impact us negatively.
Right. And like you're saying, I mean, there are the winners that came out of the pandemic. There are certain industries or companies that just, flew through the roof. But like you said, you miss the intimacy, but obviously you're an online platform. So really it's endless. So where did you see growth? Was there a particular part of within your media? Was it more video versus the writing? Was it event? Like where was some of the surprise growth or other platforms, or where did you have the unexpected growth?
So the unexpected growth was a global reach. We had people joining our virtual events literally globally.
Wow.
And so that was pretty amazing for us. Whereas
before it was more region specific. Correct. And now it was just endless. Well, that's great.
Correct.
So, and I know we've talked a lot about this, but because you do wedding events, and that we'll talk more specifically, because obviously people out here, I'm sure it's a huge, weddings are huge. And it was so interesting to see so many weddings or, wedding related activity, whether it was the engagement or the girls' getaway, so much was done online. So I wanted to talk to you more specifically, drilling down into the wedding events. Like what were some of the the opportunity, again, challenges and opportunities. What was the plus and the minus? Obviously, a wedding live is very different. But how has that changed? And is there any carryover from what happened? Again, like you just said, Sonia, that, there's things that happen that you are carrying over. Now you have a global audience. Like what happened for you with the hybrid? Is there a carryover to your industry now or to your business?
Not really. I mean, they're full force wanting to do a live wedding. So I have 2 weddings coming up in the next couple months. And they're, and one is in New York, one is in New Jersey. So, and they're kind of full 100% open now. So I have to check in obviously to make sure, see what our guidelines are at this point, but the cities are both open. There's no masks. It's all wide open now, 100%. So I'm assuming that the venues are doing the same, but we'll check into that. Some, it depends on the client. Some of them are wanting to still require that everyone has a shot, right? Their shots. Or they have to be tested 24 hours before. My clients aren't doing that, but I have heard of other colleagues' clients who are wanting to still implement because, their grandmother is going to be there. The older people will be there. And so they're concerned to make sure everybody's safe. But none of my clients are doing any kind of virtual or hybrid really at this point. They're all doing live, and so it's exciting. And the hotels aren't even. I was in Las Vegas about a month ago for a site visit. And they had just opened it up, and it was your choice. If you had your shots, you could not wear. You didn't have to wear a mask, and it was the first time, and it felt so weird not to wear a mask. But it was nice.
I was just in the Jersey Shore.
It's okay. Like we all just wanted to.
Weird.
Yes,
it's weird. I was in. I don't know how open it is for you, Sonia, but yes, we're opening up, and obviously states are different, but. I was in New Jersey last week at the Jersey Shore, and it was the first time, I mean, I've been out, and once you sit down, your mask is off, but it was the first time to be somewhere that we were chock-a-block. There were no, it wasn't the tables. And also the first time the wait, like the servers, a mask on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so naughty. Like,
I know. When I walk into a restaurant, I'm like, okay, I'm coming in. Like,
yes,
I'm in the Jersey Shore a lot too. So
well, I'm in Jersey City and I live in a high rise. So
Okay.
now it's like we're going up and down the elevators, walking around the building with no masks, which is
oh
huge.
wow. So we all have to do this fireside chat. Talk about virtual. We're all going to meet and do a live one.
Exactly.
New York.
I didn't realize you guys were so close. That's awesome.
So speaking of, I know you just said Las Vegas, and your audience is global, Sonia. So you can weigh in. I'm curious, especially for you, Annette, with weddings. Talk to me about the travel component. Obviously, New York, New Jersey. It sounds like they're local weddings, but still, people are traveling in. But where do you see like destination wedding or the travel component? Like where is that in this space? Is there?
Well, we have
destination weddings maybe moving forward.
We have to check, right, to see what's happening, where they want to go, what is the traveling situation with going there. I don't have anything yet. So that's something you have to, the biggest piece too is what's really, really important is make sure that whenever you sign any of these agreements, you always have a pandemic clause in your agreements with any venue, any vendor, anybody. So my own agreement with clients is grown tremendously. Every time something comes up, I have to add a paragraph to it. So here's another one, right? So you just have to make sure that you have, you're covered in case anything, this could happen again. We don't know, right? There could be some other thing that comes up. We just don't know. And so we haven't faced it yet, but the advice that I can give is just to make sure that you're checking what are the travel requirements, guidelines with, wherever they want to go, and then checking with the venues and things like that. But, everybody's traveling. I've been traveling a lot this year. I do a lot of events in Florida because Florida opened up last year. Right. I did do an event.
Did Florida close?
No, I don't even
know.
For like a minute they did. So, but I had an event in April with 570 people live. So it was, and nobody got sick. It was full on. They had masks on for just walking through the main part of the hotel. But for the most part, there were dance parties every night. And everybody was on the dance floor and nobody had masks on. So I was looking at my team going, oh boy, what happens here? But there's nothing you can do. It's on them, right? And we had, we did temperature checks every day. We had wristbands they had to wear for the temperature checks. They had to sign releases. So we tried to do as much as we could. But at the end of the day, there really isn't anything that legally they can't sue the event. I have a live show and I had a lawyer on, and he was saying, that it's hard to prove that they got sick at your event because they have to leave the event, go home, and it takes 3 or 4 days or 2 or 3 days for your symptoms to start. There's lots of things they could have done in between that time. So
sure,
so you just have to kind of just check and make sure that, the travel can work wherever they want to go, and look at all those parameters. What are the cancellation policies? All that is important.
Right. Handle the legalities
up front.
Logistics and legalities make or break any event, as we know.
Exactly.
Just that we have to wrap up because we have another one coming in, but I just want to get some closing thoughts. Sonia, what's next for you? What is, on the horizon, maybe as a result of the pandemic, or your new, you're obviously hooked into LinkedIn and these brands and you have this huge audience. Like, what is next for you, or perhaps as a result of even what's happened during the pandemic?
Well, I'm definitely going to say it's going to be a hybrid effort. I just did an event 2 weeks ago to raise money for COVID relief, that we were sending money to India. And basically it was hybrid, right? We had people there at the event on site. And then we also had, a video set up so that way anyone globally can also join and be part of the event. So I think going forward, I think people are very comfortable, being at home. They want to, have the option of coming out or not coming out. The convenience is kind of spoils everyone. So I think a hybrid solution is the best way to go.
And how about you, Annette? Your closing thoughts for what's in the future, aside from all of us getting to New Jersey?
I know. I actually, so because of COVID, I started a show, a live interview program. to help. It's called A Turn of Events, and we help put a positive spin on the future of your business, because I wanted to help colleagues in the industry and where were we going with this and what did it look like. I'm now into my 42nd interview, which is really amazing. And it was really to get, I'm an event producer that likes to be behind the scenes. I don't like being in front of the camera, but so it's really turned into something really great. And I meet so many amazing people. So if anybody out there wants to get on the show, reach out to me. And I also coach event planners and wedding planners on how to start a business. So I have a whole Facebook group called Event Planner Society for wedding and event planners only. I love my vendors, but it's only for them and to support them and help them start in the industry and be successful. And then we have so many events now. Our clients are really, I have to say, if it's one positive thing, is our business is booming because so many people now want to do events and they're hungry to do it. And so we're really excited about all the opportunities that are coming up.
Wow. Well, that's a great positive end. I love it. All the positive energy and all the upbeat, expansion, great, business booming. You're training those that are coming along and doing a great show. So we have to clue in on your show. So nice to meet you both. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
Expertise. I feel like we could keep chatting, but we as you all know with events. So thank you both. As we bid you goodbye, we will tell everyone where to find you in social and otherwise.
Great. Thank you
again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.